A very good morning to you on this fifth day of December with time running out, shopping to do, chores to get involved with. Life gets busier and busier and more feverish. But if you've reached us on this channel, you've reached the channel on which we talk you through the storyline of the scriptures. And this morning we are in Ephesians chapter 5 and verse number 28. Man up, you say. And yet we so seldom define manning up because we live in a day and we live in a culture in which men seem to be just insecure boys. As Steve Maraboli puts it, only insecure boys will belittle a woman. The greatest way to man up is to empower women. Insecure boys belittling women. The greatest way is to man up and empower women. I'd like to use that observation this morning and say the best thing you could do for your wife is to empower her, to equip her to be and function in a way that is really real, a way that she can face reality from a position and a posture that is real. The text here from Ephesians chapter 5, going from verse 25 to 33, gives us 8 verse lines of the relationship in that field of reality called marriage. The field of reality is significant. We need to understand very, very quickly, and sometimes we don't, that this is a war frame. Paul is going to emphasize what the war frame looks like in verse 10 to verse 24 in chapter 6, but he's laying the groundwork and showing how that this war frame is constructed from chapter 4, verse number 1 already. Actually, chapter 1, verse number 1. But here in chapter 4, our walk is to be one that is worthy with high values. We walk in love, we'll walk in light, and we walk in wisdom. We walk with high affordance of choice as believers, giving everyone the affordance of choice. Let them be and make choices and face the consequences. Now, we don't have to be afraid to talk to them and relate to them and confront them and encourage them and all of the above, because we are enlightened ones. We walk with high enlightenment and we walk in the sphere of wisdom skill. We walk with high skill in the field of relationality. So I increase my capacity when I walk in love, in light, and in wisdom. But that increased capacity needs to function in the field of relationality. It needs to function in the way, because Jesus is the true and living way. And we are followers of the way that is Christ. Let's walk with increased capacity in the way, which is the field of relationality. It has to do with me as an individual, functioning in a family, in a marriage, in my job, and in the world God has placed me. It's me and so much more. All the relationships that come into my life. I'm not the center of the universe. We are. It's a corporate community. That's what the assembly is. Me and so much more is made up of me, then me and more, then me and much more, and then me and so much more. That's the sort of ripples that flow out from me in the pond of relationality, the field of relationality. So let's look at how this functions in the context of what is really real. When you look at verse 25 to 33, you see that 3 verse lines focus on the wife's responsibility and what her submission looks like in the context of mutual submission. It's reciprocal submission. Verse 24. Submit to one another. And then, believe it or not, 8 verse lines in the same section, the same paragraph, talk about what manning up looks like, what the husband's responsibility in submitting in the marital relationship looks like. And watch where Paul goes. 8 verse lines to the husband, 3 to the wife, which tells you immediately that there is a heavier emphasis on the male responsibility in the marriage. Now, you can make of that what you want, but more times he's talking into the husband's responsibility, because when daddy or the husband walks away, the culture suffers, the family suffers, your vocation will suffer, your assembly suffers, and so on. So 2 times in 25 to 33, the writer is going to talk about wives' submission. But 5 times he's going to talk about the husband's love, the husband's submission in the sphere of what loving her looks like. And we've looked at verse 25, where we see that the husband is to give the wife the affordance of choice. Through personal, voluntary sacrifice on his part, he gives up himself and of himself so that she can choose freely and choose wisely. But affordance of choice is what love is about. Where in verse 26, it gives a high optionality for transformation, differentially transforming, because he is in touch with the script. He's got the scriptures orienting his mind and his embodiment of what God desires for him. Then verse 27, he presents her, as Christ presents the church, he presents her moment by moment. He presents her as a bride, not a bride that has torn robes and a bloodied face and blood-spattered gowns on her, but as one who is sparkling, one who is alive and well on planet Earth. That's what presentation has to do with. The way Christ presents his church, he presents her. Wherever he presents her. Verse 28, you do yourself a great favor, men, when you love your wife. 3 times in verse 28, this word appears. 3 times. Do you think God has stuttered on our responsibility to man up? No, he hasn't. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. Here you have self-edification. When you love yourself properly and you process that properly in your own life, you're going to be loving her properly. But you do yourself a great disservice when you love her improperly, because it becomes a reflection of how you see yourself and what you are doing to yourself. We treat our wives in the way in which we see ourselves. So we treat them badly, we actually have a bad view of ourselves and our responsibility and our meaning that we bring to life. Because what is meaning in a marriage? Meaning in a marriage, listen very carefully now, meaning in a marriage is fostered when I take up my responsibility as a husband. That is what becomes meaningful in the marriage. The responsibility that I take up. I fix things around the home. I don't let the home fall apart. I maintain the relationship. I'm concerned about her needs, not just my own needs. I do myself a great favor when I treat her wonderfully, beautifully, positively. Because the way I treat her is the way in which I see myself. The way I see myself shows in how I respond and treat her. In the same way, husbands should afford choice. Listen to this. Afford choice to their wives as dependent extensions of themselves. You love your wife as your own body. You don't hate your body. You treat your body well. They are dependent extensions of you. And you're called to one wife across a lifetime. That is still God's ideal. A loving, caring, affording relationship. A loving relationship across a lifetime. He who affords his wife choice affords himself the same. He who loves his wife loves himself. Can I repeat that? He who affords his wife choices affords his wife the same opportunity and gives her the same affordance, because that reflects, it is a reflection on how I view myself. The way I treat her is a reflection of how I see myself. How do you see your husband? How do you see your wife? The focus here is on husbands. And Paul is bouncing between the two, how Christ loves the church and how the husband loves the wife. Christ treats his church well all the time, because as we sing that song, God is good, not just sometimes, but all the time. Do yourself a favor, men. Treat her well, because that is a reflection on you of how you see yourself. What opportunities will you look for and be on the lookout for today as you live with the wife of your youth? Get into a season where we all make demands of each other and we feel entitled. Well, how about it, gents? Man up. Come to the table. Are you aware of what her needs are? Maybe she's feeling very insecure over these days, very uncertain. How am I responding in relation to that uncertainty that she is encountering? See, these are very convicting things. We try to be what we are not really in the real world. Because what you are in your marriage is what you are in the real world. And your true self will show in the context of your job, the context of the assembly, in the context of how you relate to others. These are very, very convicting things for us as male counterparts, as husbands, because we're quick to nail down the wife's responsibility in terms of mutual submission, but we forget our own responsibility in the context of mutuality. God is giving us, men, listen up, God is giving you intel of how to respond in this battle formation. And if you don't respond well, you're crippling the functionality of this battle formation. Here's good intel. Love her in the same way you love your own body. You're doing yourself a great favor. You're self-edifying when you do that. Today, be on the lookout for opportunities to serve her and to minister to her and to her needs and to the way she needs to be taken care of. I trust that you will enjoy the day as you go with God this day. And goodbye for now.